This is going to be some really practical advice on how to double the value of your home in a very short amount of time. Well, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to share with you some very straightforward information on how I managed to double the value of my home in just a matter of about 6 years. Just to give you a little bit of background on how this all came to be, I was finishing up school. I had actually been out for a little while. I had started my career and was beginning to earn a real legitimate income. I had made the decision to stay with my parents, which were so gracious to allow me to be at home while I figured out where my longer term career was headed. I was commuting to work about an hour each day from my parents to the office, and that wasn't really sustainable, especially living in a big city with lots of traffic. So made the decision that it was time to consider moving to the side of town where I actually worked. So I was considering whether or not it was more appropriate at that point in time to rent or to purchase a home. Because of the timing with the housing market and how affordable housing had become in terms of actually purchasing, I decided to go that route. I had a wonderful real estate agent who was helping me understand the area and some different options. So ultimately decided to purchase a foreclosure. Unfortunately, there were a lot of foreclosures around that time. We visited some homes that were foreclosures that were honestly absolute disasters. I mean, we walked in and we walked right out because they were just really in bad shape. So eventually we found this one home that was in a great area. It was really close. I think it was like a 10 to 15 minute drive. Didn't even have to get on the freeway. It was really well taken care of. And of course we had to do some due diligence to make sure that I wasn't getting into something that later would turn out to be a real problem. So that's typically what you want to do when you're purchasing a home. I wouldn't say typically, I would say consistently. You need to have someone come out and inspect the home. So when you're purchasing that property, there's this contingency that's in place that it would pass an inspection. We had the inspector look at the property, determine if there were issues, and then decided from there if there were issues that I was willing to deal with or that were really significant problems that might impact how much I would be willing to purchase the home for. And really the biggest thing that we found in this case, it wasn't really major like structural issues or anything like that. It was really in the backyard. Unfortunately, there was this drop off in the back where there was really no retaining wall or anything. You could see that over time and over the years, the continual rainfall was causing this erosion. We knew that that would have to be addressed. It was not like an immediate issue. We weren't in a flood zone. That was sufficient in terms of the things that were on that list. All right, so now I've purchased the home. Everything's good. Obviously a very exciting time. And I didn't do much of anything initially. I had the place professionally cleaned. So the carpets, the walls, the floors. The walls themselves had never been painted, so it was just like the builder grade paint that was on there in the first place. I did paint 2 rooms. That's as far as I made it. I painted, what was it? It was the dining room. I painted this Tiffany blue that I loved at the time, which piece of advice, painting is great. Just know that when you sell the home, it could be to your benefit to go with a more neutral tone to attract buyers who might not love the same colors and paint that you've chosen. And that's fine, and that's just to be expected. Then in the living room, I painted that as sort of, I think it was called burnt marshmallow. And that was really cute. But just FYI, as I got to the end of owning the home and getting ready to sell it, repainted everything this very light gray color that was kind of more modern and obviously more neutral. All right, what else did I do? I did a backsplash all by myself. I think that was my next DIY project of getting this beautiful clear tile and getting all of the tools that were needed to do that backsplash. And I kind of regretted it I was trying to be really economical at the time because I didn't have loads of money to hire people to do things, but that was a lot of time and effort, and it would probably have turned out a little bit cleaner as well if I had had a professional. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. So wouldn't do it again, but don't totally regret making that decision. And kitchens are a point within the home that are considered really critical for focusing on if you want to add value to the home. I think it's like master bedrooms and kitchens. So that's why I chose that particular area to upgrade. The only other upgrade I did besides what I've mentioned so far is installing flooring in one of the secondary bedrooms. So this was a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and I thought about doing the master bath because that's a really popular room to upgrade that people put more value towards versus other areas. And if you haven't installed a wood floor before, this was the interlocking pieces that you can get from lumber liquidators, and that was a really tough project. It was really tough on my knees. There was a lot of cutting involved. It was a fairly square room, but not perfectly square, so it had a little bump out where there was a window. And I skipped the closet now that I think about it, so that was a tougher project. I think that was the most difficult one that I did. Thankfully, my now husband, maybe fiance at the time, he was able to rip out the old flooring to prepare for installing the new flooring. Okay, let me get to the point. The appreciation of my home's value was far less to do with these projects, although I'm sure they had some degree of impact. But the biggest impact was buying a foreclosure. Homes were seriously discounted from what they would normally be valued at. So because I waited until like 2008 housing bubble burst, it was a really good opportunity to buy a home more affordably than it would normally be. So my home doubling in value in just about 6 years was really due to the market recovering. In addition, of course, to in that period of time, you have a little bit of inflation as well, but it was really the market recovering. This is just to say that when you're considering purchasing a home, it might not be the most practical thing to wait until something like this happens, which God forbid, because I know it puts a lot of people out of their homes and they're not able to continue paying their mortgages, which is why they go into foreclosure in the first place. But if you're someone who is getting serious about real estate, whether it's your first home or your 50th home, there are opportunists. And I mean that in a positive way, not a negative way, but opportunists who wait until there's a serious sale on the value of homes. If you are in a position to wait until home values have gone way, way down, and you have the money to put a lot of money down, ideally 20% or more so that you don't have to pay PMI, you can get a really great deal on a home that is likely to appreciate in value very quickly when the housing market recovers. So be careful about this. Don't enter into this without a real estate professional. It was such an awesome experience to be able to become a homeowner and then in just a couple of years be able to sell that home for double what it was worth. And the other factor to this is I could have chosen to be a landlord and just rent out that home while it continued to appreciate in value. But I didn't want to own a property that was so far away, and I won't get into how far away, but typically you want to just be a few minutes away from a property that you're renting out, because you could work with a property management company, but they're not necessarily going to do the same thorough job that you will. So you want to be able to check in on your property. Yeah, and the other factor is that you just have to be realistic about whether or not you're willing to do what it takes to manage a property and to be a landlord. You've got to do background checks, and again, you can hire a company to do a lot of this stuff for you, but there can be a lot of mismanagement from what I hear, so you have to be ready and willing to be truly involved in the process. Anyway, I hope that was helpful in telling my story of how I was able to double my home's value. Until next time, take care and stay well.